Carl Jung said, "Awaken and shine your light for others to follow. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This is an invitation to move differently in the world, to operate from a place of deep knowing and alignment. I'm Adrienne McDonald, and welcome to the Source Code Podcast. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. Grab a beverage and let's see what the muse has for us today. Hello, December. Are we feeling the holiday season yet? I'm hearing mixed reviews on that. I'm not feeling the magic yet. What I am hearing, though, is a lot of comments, thoughts around reflection, which makes sense. We are, after all, in Mercury retrograde. And I think it's today that Mars goes retrograde in Leo. If it's not today, it's tomorrow. So it feels like double the reflection. And we are at year end. So yeah, like all the reflection vibes, right? A better question, perhaps, to ask is, are you reflecting on the right things, or are you just churning and ruminating over crap and calling it reflection? To me, reflection is about a serious contemplation to gain some wisdom out of something, which brings me to thoughts around a life of meaning, which is what I want to delve into a bit today. We are currently in Human Design Gate 5, and when I talk about being in the gate, generally I'm talking about what gate the sun is in the transits of human design. And that's the background frequency of the collective. Gate 5 invites us to explore the steady grounding rhythm of life. It's known as the gate of fixed patterns. It holds the potential to illuminate how structure and routine can be sacred, not stifling. However, beneath the surface, there is a truth there. It's life's meaning is not found in predictability, but how we choose to, let's just sort of dance through the rhythm, or within the rhythm, as we proceed down that road. Gate 5 resides in the sacral center. It's the hub of vitality and life force energy. That is what the sacral is. It carries the gift of establishing natural patterns that align with the cycles of life, day and night, inhale, exhale, waxing and waning of the moon. And those activated by this energy, routine is not mere repetition. It is an opportunity, a landscape for creation. Think about it that way. But there's a paradox, because rhythm is not just about being rigid. It's about finding flow within structure. And James Hollis, I think, beautifully puts it where he says that answers tell us where we've been. Questions get us on our journey. Now, I have gate 63 in Mercury in my chart. Mercury placement is about the message that you bring out into the world. And the official name of this gate is doubt. And in the gene keys, the gift is inquiry. And I'm all about asking better questions, bigger questions, nuanced questions. And if you've been a long-time listener, you've heard me talk about the story where my coach asked me, what are you here to do? And my response was, I turn people's light back on. And one of the ways I do that is by helping people ask better questions. Now, Gate 5 challenges us to approach life with curiosity, using our rhythms as a steady beat, while also allowing adventure to sort of fill the spaces in between, right? Hollis also reminds us that this isn't about, he talked about when people come into therapy, he would tell them that this isn't about curing you because you're not a disease, you're a process. And Gate 5's shadow of impatience can sometimes feel us like we're trapped in the monotony of routine, longing for something more. But what if the something more isn't out there waiting to be discovered. It's like woven into your daily choices. And I think that is very, very true. Well, how do we find that? Living a life of meaning doesn't mean that we reject structure. It means that we infuse it with purpose. It's about recognizing that our daily routines, the morning cup of coffee, the evening walk, the journaling, are opportunities to create and express our values. Now, if you don't know what your values are, that can be problematic because you don't know if you're living them or making choices that align with them. And if you're not aware of the patterns that you have in your life, also difficult. Hollis has a passage that I want to read to you guys for reflection because I think it really spoke to me. He says that yet another question to ask yourself is, if I could change them now, what choices would I revisit? As we know, seldom does life allow us to do a do-over. But what would you do over? What do you know now that you didn't know then? And this is not to foster regret or recrimination or blaming yourself or others. Rather, it's a forensic exploration of the interior architecture of our choices and our feelings in life. However, if we don't recognize some of those false turns and perhaps acknowledge the necessity of them, then we're likely to be their servant for good. We can ask ourselves what powers or presence stood, perhaps invisibly, at the juncture of my life and caused the train of life to go down one track rather than another. Are those presents still operational in my life? It is so important to construct this archaeological examination of the causal factors in those critical decisions because they're still present in us, so possibly exercising a hand on the lever that sends our life down one track or another. And this is about the unconscious patterns, right? It is what we've been shaped or how we've been influenced in childhood, but also from a human design standpoint, when you look at those open centers where you are more easily influenced. And by having some awareness around this, that can make reflection much more powerful, right? And being able to make different decisions in your everyday, being able to course correct faster. And, Hollis also said that this is about making your life more interesting to you. A life full of adventure, a life full of daily choices that create and express your values. And this is a really great time to do this because Gate 5 asked us to consider how our routines can be rituals of self-expression and adventure versus just sleepwalking through life like so many people do. And what daily choices can you make to align your life with your value system and what you want to accomplish? And how can you infuse that even in the smallest moments with much more intention, with much more joy? Come towards the end of the month, the gate of vitality comes online. And vitality that gate is also considered the gate of the joyous. So as we move through December and we're in this deep reflection, perhaps we can gain some wisdom so we can really amplify that joy towards the end of the month. And adventure doesn't mean climbing mountains or crossing oceans or all the big things, right? Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's as simple as asking a new question, a better question, a bigger question, taking a different path home, finding beauty in the mundane. That's seeking beauty every day, seeking magic every day. That's part of how I live my life. It's about leaning into life's rhythm with much more openness and a spirit of curiosity. So I've got a couple of questions, 5 questions this week that you can reflect on, perhaps journal on. And these are in the spirit, if you will, of the Gate 5 energy. Number 1, what questions am I not asking about my life that could open new doors of possibility? That could be what better questions as well. Number 2, how do my current routines reflect the values I hold most dear? And where might they need to shift? Now, if you don't know your values, you haven't really thought about them, I've done an episode on that, but that would be very helpful to sort of dig into that a little deeper. And I go through a couple of times a year, like doing a check-in on, like, are these really values that I live my life by or want to live my life by? So, it's not a set it and then forget it type of thing. Number 3, what does an adventurous life look like to me? And how can I begin to cultivate it today? This is an interesting question because I don't think that people really look at the word adventurous in the same way. Because when I've asked this of people, I get the definitions are all over the board. So especially if you have a spouse, ask your spouse or your partner, what does this mean to you? Because you might be a little surprised. Number 4, how might I find meaning in not grand answers, but in the small, intentional choices of every day? Those small moments of joy. You might surprise yourself there. And number 5, and I think this is probably one of the most impactful things that you can really embrace and think about and contemplate. In what ways can I embrace the idea that I am a process rather than a problem to be solved? A lot of people I know, myself included, have thought of themselves as a problem to be solved. You are not a problem to be solved. So let's talk about embracing the process. Life, as Hollis reminds us, is not about perfection or answers. It is a process, an ever-folding journey. You get a better life, a more meaningful life, when you ask bigger, better, nuanced questions. The ones that make you think, the ones that make you contemplate, the ones that make you reach for answers. And do that on the regular, not just when you hit a wall. Like when life is going great, continue to do that. Gate 5 teaches you that rhythm and routine are not constraints. They are tools for creation. So when you align your patterns and your habits with purpose, you unlock the potential for a life that's not only meaningful, but deeply satisfying, deeply peaceful, deeply joyous. So let Gate 5 guide you in embracing rhythms in your life. Let it remind you that meaning is not something that you find, it's something you create, and you can create it by moment, choice by choice. So that's it for today. As always, thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful and you feel so inclined. Please share the episode out or leave a review or both. And as always, do not forget to find beauty every day and seek the magic in the mundane. Thank you for listening to the Source Code Podcast. If you found this episode insightful and feel moved to, please leave a review and share it out with those you believe will find it helpful. You can check out my website for more information at www.adrianmcdonald.com. And for more of my more regular musings, connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. I hope you have a beautiful week.